It was noted earlier that the split peas option, while on the one hand had the advantage that it was more aligned with the text, it was Mituv Mitzrayim, there was also a shortcoming in that there was nothing in the gift that related specifically to Yaakov, as opposed to the first option, whereby Yaakov, at 130 years of age, would have benefited, as Rashi noted, from aged wine. Nevertheless, it will be the contention of the Rebbe in the SICHAH that the split beans option also related specifically to Yaakov, and accordingly the Rebbe will address two anomalies regarding the commentary of Rashi. One, the source for the Grisin Shel Pul, that it was from the Medrash Agadah, and secondly, the lack of the words Davar Acher in introducing a second option, which at face value should have been inserted into his commentary, as we see in the following two examples taken from Parashat Vayigash itself. The first in the very next pasuk, in which we are told that Yosef formally takes leave of his brothers, Vayishlach et echav vayelchu, and tells them, Al tirgezu baderech. The shoresh for tirgezu, Reish Gimel Zayin, translates as to rage, to quarrel, to excite, to stir up, to make trouble, and also to tremble. Rashi provides us with three options to Yosef's advice to his brothers. The first from Gemara Ta'anit, one that is quite strange to say the least, that they should not become involved in a discussion on matters of halacha, lest it delay them, and thus the trip back will be a source of agitation. Second option, tirgezu, to excite, to be eager. They should not do anything that might endanger themselves, such as traveling at night, taking shortcuts. And a third option, one that is aligned with the Pshuta Shel Hikra, tirgezu, in terms of arguing, that they should not argue with each other, pointing fingers as to who was to blame for the situation, which at this point in time would serve no purpose. Putting aside for one moment the fact that the Pshuta Shel Mikra is placed as the third option, we see here that when Rashi introduces a second option, it does so with the words Davar Acher, alternatively. A second example can be seen from Bereshit 44:18, the opening pasuk to this parsha, in which, when the brothers return with Binyamin, Yosef decrees that Binyamin should remain behind while they return to Canaan, at which point in time Vayigash elav Yehuda approaches Yosef, requesting permission to talk, adding to that request a statement to the effect that, Ki, because, Kamocha Keparo, you are like Pharaoh. To which Rashi provides us with four options in explaining this comparison between Yosef and Paro. The first, one that is aligned with the Pshuta Shel Mikra, understands the comparison as one of status. A second is a veiled threat. A third option was a moral argument, that what Yosef was doing could be equated to the actions of Pharaoh, who promised and then went back on that promise. And the fourth was a threat that if need be, he would be willing to assassinate Yosef along with his master Paro. What we have here is firstly the Pshuta Shel Mikra option, this followed by three Midrashic interpretations, with the second and third Midrashic interpretation introduced with the words Davar Acher. Taking a closer look at Rashi's commentary to Chaf Gimel, which, on the surface at least, appears to be two interpretations of the gift that Yosef sent to his father, Rashi has not inserted the words Davar Acher, from which the Rebbe suggests we can conclude that the Grisin Shel Pul is not a standalone alternative explanation for the Tuv Mitzrayim, but shares some commonality with the first option, that of Yayin Yashan. Worded differently, whereas we had suggested that each of the two options had an advantage and a disadvantage, the Rebbe now suggests that the Grisin Shel Pul also related specifically to Yaakov. But the connection is not as clear-cut as with the Yayin Yashan, but rather here we need to rely on a Midrashic insight, one that involves a symbolic connection and message that Yosef was sending to his father through the Grisin Shel Pul.